The Madman! Welcome to Trump's top 10 cards in the Knights of the Frozen Throne. These cards are ranked highest on my star rating system. I believe they will highly influence the meta and find their way into the most powerful decks. Number 10. Bone Mare. Pros have compared this card to Dr. Boom. 7 mana for 9/9 worth of stats, and even better, some of those stats are fast, because you put it into a minion already in play, who stuck around from turn 6, and it can attack immediately with the benefit of +4/+4. And it has taunt, just to put the cherry on top. The only problem with this card is it needs to fit into a deck which can reliably get a minion to stick around on turn 6, so you can make this very powerful play on turn 7. And that's surprisingly not that many decks. Paladin, yes, but Paladin already has Spike Ridge Steed, which I believe is still better than Bone Mare. You have the Shaman Totem ability, you have board control decks such as Zoo, you have decks with sticky minions such as Hunter, Savannah Highmane, and Rat Pack. There's a lot of possibilities for Bone Mare to be a very strong card in. Number 9.
Winter is here.
Corpse Taker. Corpse Taker is such a strong effect if you can get the taunt and the divine shield and the lifesteal on her. And I believe she's going to fit into exactly Paladin. 4 mana 3/3 taunt, divine shield, lifesteal is just so powerful. I believe control Paladin decks and possibly mid-range Paladin decks will build their deck around this card, and even include a card such as Chillblade Champion into their deck in order to more consistently provide the lifesteal for the Corpse Taker. Not only is she good in control Paladin though, she may be so good that she'll even fit into mid-range Paladin, certainly buff Paladin, and who knows, maybe even a few other classes. Number 8.
You cannot escape the shadow of death.
Valeera the Hollow. So yes, you do need to survive until turn 9, but once you survive until turn 9, you're probably not dying that turn. Even if you have no board, you may not be able to make such a strong play. All you're going to do is play Valeera, but what I realized is that your opponent will also not be able to do anything. They won't be able to generally accomplish any damage, and then you're just getting such a huge benefit for the rest of the game of being able to get an extra card each turn. I see this card as being a mainstay in Miracle Rogue, and will push that card to the top. Against aggro, you vanish the board immediately after, and against control, you can afford to spend such a late game play on a card just influencing and improving your plays for the next many turns. Number 7.
Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise.
The Lich King. The big baddie himself. This card is a much faster Ysera, coming in at 1 mana fewer, and also being much faster by having an impact on the board immediately with his taunt, while also giving you extremely powerful tools. Some of the best cards he gives you are Death and Decay, Army of the Dead, and the mighty Frostmourne, giving you that super edge in the late game. Many control decks are going to want to run the Lich King just because of the sheer power and defense he provides at the same time. Number 6.
The light's justice has failed.
Uther of the Ebon Blade. Many control Paladin decks ran Forbidden Healing. Some ran 2 copies of Forbidden Healing. Now Uther of the Ebon Blade is a much better Forbidden Healing. You may even be able to replace 1 copy or even both. Uther of the Ebon Blade gives you 10 health immediately, and then gives you another 10 health over the next 2 turns, and that's 15 damage to face if you just keep hitting face. But that's if you just keep hitting the face. In control versus control matchups, the Grave Vengeance is an excellent board control card, able to 3-for-1 your opponent just by killing 3 things. But that's not it! Just like Justicar Trueheart, Uther of the Ebon Blade manages to get your hero power to be twice as good over time, and once you press that button long enough, and of course you're going to play this deck in a deck that plans on hitting the button quite a lot, then you're going to get so much more value. Oh, and by the way, you hit that button enough, and once your opponent is exhausted out of answers, you actually win the game. Fantastic late game pickup for control Paladin, might even fit into mid-range Paladins. Number 5.
The circle of life is over.
Malfurion the Pestilent. This is one of the Death Knights which has the least sex appeal to it, seems to do very simple things, but the simple things he does are rock solid. And the better thing is that he does 2 very different effects. The immediate choose one effect when he comes into play is between a choice that's extremely good against aggro, immediately providing you 10 health worth of taunt, in addition to the 5 armor he gives you, or a really good choice against control, giving you 2 1/2 poisonous guys, which is extremely good against late game cards. And then the hero power of choosing to deal either 3 damage or 3 armor is really good as well, because you choose 3 armor if you're near death, you choose 3 attack if you're up against the control deck where the health doesn't really matter, or if you actually have the health to spare. 2 mana deal 3 damage is extremely powerful. In a druid deck that's able to ramp to get to 7 pretty easily, I expect Malfurion the Pestilent to show up quite a lot across multiple druid decks. Number 4. Ultimate Infestation. Ultimate Infestation is the big end game card for Druid. It manages to accomplish pretty much everything. It's such a value package. It's Shield Maiden combined with Starfire combined with Sprint, all in one card. When you add up those 3 cards, that's 19 mana. When you consider that you package all those cards together, like even very conservatively, you can call that 20 mana. So you're casting 20 mana worth of stuff for 10 mana. That's super value. Mayor of Valley Town approves, and it's a shock that this isn't number 1, but wait till you see the next cards. Number 3. Forge of Souls. 2 mana to draw 2 cards is really good, and hasn't been done in a unconditional way in the past. This isn't quite unconditional because if you run out of weapons in your deck, you don't draw the 2 weapons, which is why this card may end up only being a 1 of index, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That just means that it's so powerful that even though you can miss sometimes, you will include it in your deck. You can coin Forge of Souls into Fiery War Axe, getting that card more consistently when you're going second. You can Forge of Souls into Fiery War Axe on turn 3. Expect to see this card across many types of warriors, mostly the control ones. Which leads us to number 2, Bloodraiser, the aforementioned card that you can get from Forge of Souls. Forge of Souls wouldn't be nearly as good if this card weren't printed. It's going to be the card that most warriors run alongside Fiery War Axe, if you're control. Bloodraiser activates your Armor Smiths, your Acolyte of Pains, your Gromish, your Rotface. It's 2 swipes in 1 card for 4 mana, and the swipes also hit your own board, which is normally a negative in other classes, but when you activate so many of your own class cards, that's actually a major positive. This is the card that might bring Control Warrior back into contention, but will fit into other types of Control Warriors which already exist as well, such as Taunt Warrior. And now, before we get to number 1, here's some honorable mentions. Deathstalker Rexxar. If he weren't a hunter card, he would probably be my pick for most powerful card in the set. The best Death Knight, if only he wasn't in Hunter. Defile. Many people see this as an extremely strong card, and I don't deny it. The potential of Defile is certainly there, and perhaps it's strong enough to make Control Warlock a deck. The only doubt about Defile is whether or not such a Control Warlock deck has the other tools to be good enough. And that brings us to number 1 on the list.
The light dims, but we fight.
Righteous Protector. And I guarantee you, she did not affect my subconscious based off of her stats of 1 mana for 1/1. So many 1s out there. But you know that I must respect her a lot if I rated her over Ultimate Infestation. Argent Squire is currently played sometimes in some aggressive Paladin decks and has been played a lot in the past. Turns out, if you slap on Taunt onto Argent Squire, it's a huge effect because Divine Shield is very annoying to deal with, and having to kill a 1 health minion with potentially any of your minions, like, you often overkill on both the Divine Shield and the 1 health. So you can play the Righteous Protector to actually protect any of your high attack, low health minions, or you can just simply, just like Argent Squire, play her on turn 1, and she starts wailing on the opponent, especially if you buff her up. Expect to see Righteous Protector leading armies of aggressive paladins into people's faces.